We have your week 9 injury updates as well as other updates that you need to be aware of going into the weekend. Yesterday was the NFL trade deadline, and for once it was an active one. Some notable trades: TJ Hawkinson to the Minnesota Vikings, Chase Edmonds to the Denver Broncos, Chase Claypool to the Chicago Bears, Jeff Wilson to the Miami Dolphins, Calvin Ridley to the Jacksonville Jaguars, Nyheim Hines to the Buffalo Bills, and part of that trade, Zach Moss to the Indianapolis Colts. So a lot of moving parts. But let's get into some of these injury updates. And starting off, we have Irv Smith Jr., who has been placed on the IR due to an ankle injury. He's expected to be out 8 to 10 weeks with the injury, which makes sense why the Vikings went for TJ Hawkinson. So going forward, TJ Hawkinson will fill the role of Irv Smith Jr., but Irv Smith Jr. out for 8 to 10 weeks, so he likely won't be back unless the Vikings make a playoff run. The Ravens are dealing with multiple injuries on the offensive side of the ball. Wide receiver Rashad Bateman dealing with a foot injury that has been lingering over the past couple of weeks. He's expected to be out multiple weeks with the injury. There's no definitive timeline right now, but as of right now, he's out this week. That's not all. Tight end Mark Andrews is dealing with a shoulder and ankle injury. Both not considered serious, both minor injuries, but the Ravens do have a bye week next week, and I wouldn't be surprised if they sat him this week, let him get time to get healthy for the second half of the season. But you're going to want to monitor his practice status going into the weekend. But that's not all. Running back Gus Edwards is dealing with a hamstring injury, considered day-to-day with the injury, and like Mark Andrews, I wouldn't be surprised if they let him sit this week, let him get healthy for the second half of the season. If he does sit, Kenyon Drake will be in line for a big workload. Houston Texans wide receiver Nico Collins has been ruled out for Thursday night's game against the Philadelphia Eagles due to a groin injury, the same injury that held him out of last week's game. Philip Dorsett and Chris Moore will see an increase in work in his absence. Brandon Cooks is also questionable for this game due to a wrist injury, so you're going to want to monitor his status going into Thursday. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor did not practice on Wednesday due to an ankle injury, and reports say he tweaked the same ankle that caused him to miss some time earlier this season, so you're going to want to monitor his practice status going into the weekend, but as of right now, it's not looking good for the running back. Packers wide receiver Christian Watson, who left last Sunday's game due to a concussion, will have to make it through the concussion protocol in order to play on Sunday against the Detroit Lions, so you're going to want to monitor his status going into the weekend. But some good news for Packers fans: wide receiver Alan Lazard returned to practice on Wednesday after missing last Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills due to a shoulder injury. So it's looking good for Alan Lazard this week, but you're going to want to monitor his status going into the weekend. Cardinals running back James Conner, who's been dealing with a rib injury that has sidelined him for the past couple of weeks, returned to practice last week in a limited fashion, but he did not suit up on Sunday. But it's looking like he could return this week in a favorable matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. So you're going to want to monitor his practice status going into the weekend, but James Conner could be back this week. But that's going to do it for us today. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, line 'em up.